Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of eDiscovery After Hours. My guest this week is Drew Goletz from Avalon. In this episode, we talked about being suckers for marketing from microbreweries, the music scene in New Orleans, where Drew grew up, how working at a record shop for a few years after college led him into a 2+ decade career in eDiscovery, and what it's like to be a non-lawyer in the legal space. So it's a great conversation. I know you're going to love it. The guest this week, the sponsor this week, can you tell this is my 5th or 6th time recording this intro? I cannot talk today. I think I might be high on Sudafed. Regardless, the sponsor this week is Discovery Master. You may have a managed services provider that you love, but sometimes they conflict out, or sometimes your client dictates that you use somebody else's instance of relativity. A lot of us are exposed to multiple instances of relativity all the time. And if you want one place to see all of your document review projects, you got to check out www.discoverymaster.co. Thanks for tuning in.
Quick time!
You don't know how to drink, your whole generation.
Drinks on the house.
Yes, sir.
No, wait a second. Drinks are 50% off.
Right.
No, wait a second. Double the price of everything.
And I work only 16 hours a day.
A union man only works 8 hours a day.
I belong to 2 unions.
And now, eDiscovery After Hours with your host, Ryan Short.
All right, Drew, welcome to eDiscovery After Hours, brothers. Cheers.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right. What are we sipping on tonight?
I am drinking what's called a milk porter. It's the Corova milk porter based from a brewery based out of Hammond, Louisiana called Gnarly Barley.
Yeah.
And I went to school in Hammond, Louisiana, which is why it's sort of special to me. But it's a great milk porter. They make great beers. They have lots of other ones, but this is probably my favorite.
What does a milk porter mean? I know what a porter means. What's a milk porter?
I don't know. I'm not a brewer, but it tastes really good. And it's, I don't know, maybe it's a little sweeter. I don't know. I don't know. I drink a lot of beer. I like a lot of beers, but I don't know the difference between this and maybe just regular porter. I've got some Imperial porters in the fridge. I think those are maybe a little bit stronger. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't pretend to know either. And, as craft brewing has become a thing over the last decade or so, I've had buddies who've gotten super into it and they'll brew their own beer and, they do it in big buckets that they place in their bathtubs and it smells disgusting. And they could tell you everything about everything. And I'm that sucker who will go into a liquor store and I'll just have a Jonesin for something. And I'll know it'd be I want a lager or I want a stout or I want whatever. And I'll just what's the best looking can or bottle? Which I'm now admitting globally. I don't think I've ever told that to anybody before. Now the world knows I'm the sucker. So if you want me to purchase your craft beer, I want a really old timey vintage label or something crazy psychedelic,
Yeah.
But if it looks like a Bud Light or a Miller Lite, I'm probably not going to pick it up.
Yeah, no, that definitely works. Their marketing works on me for sure. It's the same with wine too. I like to drink wine, but I don't always know a lot about it. So I'm walking the aisles and I go, well, that looks interesting. It's, it's a Merlot. I like Merlot. I'll just buy that, Yeah.
I know a little bit more about wine than I do about beer. Probably not much. And somebody who's listening to this is an amateur sommelier and they're going to call me out. But I do like wine, which is funny since I've lived my whole life in the Midwest and we're not a massive wine producing region. Although we've got a few that are kind of up and coming. So you went to school in Louisiana. You're in Tampa now, right?
That's correct.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in New Orleans.
Nolans.
Yeah. I grew up in New Orleans. Went to high school in New Orleans and then went to college in a little town called Hammond, Louisiana, which is almost directly in between New Orleans and Baton Rouge. So it's about an hour and a half from each. It's a great little college town. It's grown a lot over the last few years. I still go there pretty regularly to go see friends that stayed around and, work for the university. It's great.
Nice, man. So, and I don't, you don't have to date yourself. I haven't looked at your LinkedIn, so I don't know how much you reveal to the world. Were you in New Orleans during Katrina or before or after, or?
So I wasn't. I was living in Baton Rouge at the time. So,
Okay.
but I was still in Louisiana at the time. I moved here a few years afterwards, not as a result of Katrina, but we were in Baton Rouge. We were relatively unaffected. We had family and friends that were and stayed with us, during and after the storm. But yeah, we were safe where we were.
I was talking to somebody just a day or two ago who went to law school down there. And they were like, yeah, like as a result of Katrina, I was an exchange student. Technically, like on paper, I was an exchange student for a semester because I had to go to school in Texas.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow, like just all of the ramifications that just spiral into every facet of life. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Dang. All right. So Tampa is awesome. How did you end up there? That's a great town for anybody who's listening, who hasn't been or hasn't been in a long time. Go. It's amazing.
It is a great town. So I was actually working for a small litigation support company that was based out of New Orleans. I was working in their Baton Rouge office. They wanted to have an office in Tampa, I think just because they wanted to be able to say they could come to Tampa regularly for work.
Yeah. We're going to get a corporate apartment, but it's corporate. Okay. No personal use. Wink, wink.
Yeah, exactly. So I worked for this company and they made the offer to me. And originally I said, no, I was like, I really like Louisiana. I'm not really interested in going to Florida. And then after some, coaxing, I said, okay, we'll give it a chance. My wife and I do want to live somewhere else. It can't be that bad. We'll give it a shot. That was almost 15 years ago. And, we haven't looked back, we love it here. So
yeah, it's awesome. Are you near the water or are you inland?
No, I'm inland.
Yeah.
I'm about 25 minutes north of the city.
Okay. Gotcha.
So.
Yeah. I think Florida, I could do, like the whole Tampa metro would be okay. But like when I hear of people who are like, Jacksonville has some nice areas that I like, but it's got to be near-ish the water because Florida in the summer, if you're too far inland, I mean, like it is treacherous. It's like you just got to shut yourself up in an air-conditioned room and not leave for like 3.5 months.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah, we're about 40 minutes from the beach, so it's not bad.
All right, yeah. That would get the job done. So, all right. So you grew up in New Orleans. Tell me about your childhood. What were you into? What were you like?
Man, growing up in New Orleans it's a great place to grow up. So I was really into music. I liked going to shows a lot.
Great music town.
It is a awesome music town. So I had lots of music always accessible to me. After college, actually ran a record store for a few years.
Really? We got to dig into that a little bit. Tell me more.
Yeah. So that was my first job out of college. I didn't jump straight into litigation support. So
who does?
Yeah. Right. You got here,
Yeah, that's right.
So I grew up in New Orleans. Like I said, great music town. Having the French Quarter accessible to you as a teenager may not always be the best thing, but I did. I turned out okay. I went to college in Hammond. Then shortly after graduating, I had an opportunity to work for a record store chain, and I did that for about 4 years. And then at some point, like I needed good health insurance and sort of those adult things. So then I got a job working actually at a copy center inside a law firm. And then
wild.
After doing that, I had a vendor pick me up and say, man, you should come work for us. And then I got really into that. We started doing, small eDiscovery projects, processing PSTs. And back then 1 gigabyte of data was like so voluminous. We didn't even know what to do.
Yeah.
But then, started doing that. They relocated me to Tampa. I ran an office for those guys for a while. And then I was recruited by another company. And then I stayed with them for about 10 years. And that's, sort of where my career really took off and I evolved with the industry. But like most people, I didn't even know this industry existed when I was in college and never knew that this was an option for a career.
Yeah. You look back and connect the dots, right? But you can't guess where you'll be, in the next year or a couple of years. What's funny is you say like, I didn't know this industry existed. It's like neither do most attorneys. You know?
Right?
Like, yeah. Or they know that it exists, but it's like, what do you people do again? You know,
Yeah.
I work for a software company nested inside a law firm, and not all of our lawyers are litigators. And they're like, what do you guys do? What is this thing?
Yeah.
So, it's just, we're just here, we're here when you need us. So are you a musician yourself?
I am not. No.
Oh,
It's
never. Hey,
a talent that
it's never too late.
It's a talent I never could pick up. I tried a couple of times and was like, you know what? I'm good at just being a professional critic. It's okay.
It's a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
Couple of milk porters and a B-side of an album, and by then you're like, I can do this.
Yeah, that's actually sounds like a perfect night.
The thing I like about so I was in Nashville, Tennessee for a little while when I was in undergrad doing an internship on Music Row. Okay. And one of the things that I really liked about Nashville was everybody identifies it with country music, which it's the most commercially successful branch, but there's also like a Bakersfield country branch and an Austin country and red dirt out of Oklahoma country. And then the other big thing out of Nashville that's most famous is a lot of gospel music, and contemporary Christian music. But you can go, if you get off of Broadway, if you hide from the bachelorette parties, and you go to any club or bar within 2 or 3 blocks of Broadway, you can hear any type of music imaginable. And everybody in that town, the person working at the copy center in the law firm, the couriers, the waiters, the Uber drivers, everybody, I guarantee you, has more musical talent in their little finger than most people have, after years and years of trying. So I just love the variety there. And New Orleans is the same way. Like, people hear it and they think of, here's the best example I think that may have pop culture resonance today is John Batiste, who leads the band Stay Human. He's famously on Stephen Colbert's show. That dude, listen to his catalog. He can cover anything and everything, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
So
I saw him at a bar in New Orleans that was probably as big as my office. There's this big crowd of people. I like you said, you walk into places off the street. I walk in there, there's this big crowd of people, and it's him and Jimmy Buffett just sitting down playing guitar. Uh-oh. And Jimmy Buffett just happened to walk in there, and that's really? That's the kind of place New Orleans is. It's so awesome. There's you can walk into any different, you can just walk down the street and walk into 5 different bars and hear 5 different kinds of music. It's great.
I love it. Where do you fall on Jimmy Buffett? Fan or not a fan?
Not a fan. It was cool to see that moment, but that's not my thing.
Yeah. What's your thing? What do you like?
It's pretty wide and varied. I have
basically everything but Jimmy Buffett.
Look, if I'm in a bar and Cheeseburger in Paradise comes on, I'll sing along, but it's, I'm not going to, celebrate his discography,
I don't even think he celebrates his discography. It's basically the same 15 songs that he's been playing in concert for the last 30 years.
Right.
Yeah. Oh man, too funny. I dig it. All right. So not much of a musician. Were you an athlete as a kid, or are you active, now?
Both. I played soccer. I was really into cycling when I was younger, so I got into that. And then, I'm out of shape now, but I was a pretty solid, trail and ultra runner for a while. So, so yeah, I like the outdoors, mountain biking, road racing, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm still active now, but not as active as I was maybe 5-6 years ago.
So, and COVID didn't kick you in the butt, huh? You just kind of mailed it in and you thought, we're all going to die anyway, so I'm just not even going to get on the exercise bike, it's just.
Yeah, no, actually for me, I was like, oh, this is great. I was working from home before, but I was like, oh, this gives me a chance to go running more, bike more, because everybody's, home all the time. It just didn't work out that way. And I tore my meniscus. I had knee surgery. So that sort of derailed me. And then the year while waiting to heal, I just got out of shape. And so it's always so hard to just get it back once you lose it,
How'd you tear it? What happened?
Running.
Oh, yeah, there you go. The parts just wear out, don't they?
Yeah. Trying to be fast. I was, doing speed workouts and just, it didn't work out for me.
Yeah, no. Well, that's, better you than me. I'll just sit and keep sipping and watch other people, I say COVID-19, that was the number of pounds I gained, the last few months of that year. It was not good. Not good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's too funny. All right. So you are working for this vendor. You find your way over to Florida. How old were you when you made the move?
I was in my 30s. I've been here. So if I'm 48 now, yeah, I had to be mid 30s, 35 or so.
Did you guys have kids at the time?
Yeah. Yep.
Was that a big piece of the calculus of wanting to go or not go, like proximity to grandparents or babysitting or new schools or all that?
Yeah, that all played into it. But they like it here, so it's good for them. And this is where they've grown up. I mean, they don't know,
Yeah, it's home.
I mean, it's home. I mean, Mardi Gras was this week and they had that doesn't mean anything to them, where I get that little bit of depression every year on Mardi Gras morning. Like, man, I'm not back home,
Yeah, that's right. Well, let the record show that we are recording this the day after Ash Wednesday. So it's not a day of fasting. So we are fine to imbibe, right?
That's right. That's
Fat
right.
Tuesday is over, but I didn't give up beer for Lent, and it seems that you didn't either.
I did not either.
I probably should have thought about that before I scheduled like 6 recording sessions in March.
Yeah.
If I've got a bunch of people who gave up booze, we're going to become like sponsored by a tea company instead of Discovery software. Oh man. All right. So I want to transition into talking a little bit more about your career and then tee you up to kind of bring us home with something industry related.
Sure.
So you are like myself, what people in legal refer to as non-attorney, which
yes.
I think is silly. And I worked for 8.5 years in transportation and logistics, and nobody ever referred to me as a non-truck driver.
Right.
But that's fine. They have to go to school too. They need certificates.
Sure.
So talk to me about, you got this job in this law firm because you needed insurance and adult life and all that.
Sure.
And then you got picked up by a vendor. And then you mentioned, your career really took off at this next place. Talk to me about kind of who those, mentors were and how they impacted your career, because, you literally went from, I don't know that this thing exists, to now you've been in it for 20 plus years. And there was multiple opportunities, I'm sure, to exit, to go to other opportunities. So talk to me about, 2 things. Number one, who are the mentors and how do they affect your career? And number 2, what is it like to be a non-attorney, and how do you overcome that obstacle or that barrier as you think about, building relationships with clients?
Yeah. I was fortunate to have a lot of really good mentors in the early days. I had people that were very entrepreneurial that, just were like, look, just go for it. You can do this. You're smarter than you think. Just dive right in. And that really took a lot of it. It took a lot of the nervousness off, because a lot of it in the early days when we were, processing PSTs, or, in the first company I worked for also did, trial technology. So they had somebody that would go into the courtroom. Yep. A lot of what we were doing was just figuring things out, and so there were a lot of late nights at the computer, just like, okay, let's do this. Let's figure it out. And then the next morning, walk into the law firm and make sure they're okay with everything that we just spent the last 24 hours doing,
So in other words, the same thing today, just with different technology.
Yeah. pretty much. So no, I was lucky. I was fortunate enough to have some really good people that, took an interest in my career. Our former CEO where I used to work was really great, was good about bouncing ideas off of everybody. Like, hey, what do you think about this? Do you think we should do this? Yeah, let's do it. Let's give it a shot, And so I was lucky to have people like that, people that were techie that didn't mind showing us things and say, okay, this is how we can do it. So that, because not only am I non-attorney, I'm not really an expert in sales or operations. I've got kind of one foot in both.
Yeah.
So like I can sit down at a computer and process a PST, but I'm usually the guy talking, sales with people in my organization about going out and drumming up business. So that's sort of a unique piece to my career and how it's sort of unfolded, but it's because I've always been interested in everything. And somebody that I had the pleasure of working with at D4, he used to always say, he's like, you're so good at this because you're just sort of like a curious liberal arts guy. He's like, you just want to unpack things. And that's sort of true, So,
yeah, I think there's a lot to that. And, sales, I've talked about this once or twice in this podcast with other guests. It's like, it gets this dirty word, but ultimately that's what every attorney's doing. Because if you want to be a partner, you got to drum up your own book of business. And, sales doesn't mean you have to be Wolf of Wall Street, right? And it doesn't mean you have to be Boiler Room.
Right.
Two great movies, not two great sales models. But, to your point about having this foot in either world, that's where we find a lot of success when we talk to people about Discovery Master. It's and I've got Ray in a call. It's like, he's like, I'm a practicing litigator. Like, I built this to solve my own problems. Like, we're not these charlatans with, a bunch of capital who are taking a stab and trying to just close a bunch of deals. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, and, like the temperature lowers, and then it's really, so the fact that you've been, you've done the operations, what you're talking about. Now it's a much easier conversation, right? Because I'm not just this snake oil salesman.
Right. And I've actually worked on projects, I've done the processing, I've done, sort of the dirty work too, so,
yeah.
But yeah, so I guess that's sort of how my career has gone. And then I've been, as being a non-attorney, that's interesting, Do
you have like a funny, I'm putting you on the spot here. Do you have any kind of like a funny story or anecdote about somebody who like threw the whole non-attorney thing in your face or tried to? You're allowed to say no. You did not know this question was coming.
Yeah, I didn't. And I, I'm sort of on the spot here. I can't think of anything now, but I'm sure it's come up. I mean, especially in the early days, because as I mentioned, like, I evolved with the industry. So, I mean, I can tell you there's been hundreds of times where it's like, hey, the copy guy's here. And it's like, well, actually, I've got your hard drive, and I'd like to talk to you about how you're going to handle your review,
Yeah.
So, but that's sometimes how we're looked at,
Right.
And it's okay. It's part of
the copy guy.
Yeah. Like,
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. All right. So let's bring it home. So talk to me about something either that's going on in the industry or at Avalon that you think needs some press, or you want to do some productive venting, or just talk to me about eDiscovery. Let's put the eDiscovery into eDiscovery After Hours.
Yeah, great. So if I can give ourselves a plug, we did just start a national sales team. And so we are actively recruiting for that national sales team right now. And so if anybody is listening and not necessarily happy where they are and interested in joining another organization, we are growing rapidly. And investing in our people and looking for a lot of people to join our national sales team. So that's my one plug that I would like to make if I can.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have another plug, or is that we're
that's what's most important to me right now, because that's the role I'm in, because I just started as the national sales director in January. So I'm actively recruiting for my team.
Attaboy. Where should people reach you? Do you email address or just LinkedIn?
They can get me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to start a dialogue from there.
All right. Perfect. Well, this is great, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. It's always good to chat with you on camera and off. And it's always a good excuse to sip a drink,
Yeah. Cheers.